Kamala Harris right now, you're killing it on what matters. What matters in a campaign is money, particularly now, and she's killing it raising money.
Why
so
are the billionaires giving her money? Kevin, you know these people.
No, she's not getting it from billionaires.
Why?
She's getting it.
Silicon Valley and Wall Street
at a time. She's killing it. Look, I'm not defending
Silicon Valley and Wall Street is shoveling money at Kamala Harris. Why is that? You know they are.
Because it's working. Because she's figured out how to get these. Look, I'm just telling you the facts. Okay. You don't want to hear them? I won't tell them to you.
No, but
she's raising
it's
money.
not working for regular people. I'm not talking about her campaign. We know that rich people want to keep wages down for the middle class. That's happening, and it's happened over decades. We want to know why the billionaires in Silicon Valley, the ones who got hammered when Google was declared an antitrust violation today. I don't like that ruling, I can tell you that. Why are they shoveling money to Kamala Harris?
So you see how she's trying to rewrite everything. She was so fed up. She was so triggered when O'Leary was like, no, listen, the vast majority of the fundraising of the Harris campaign is not coming from millionaires and billionaires. It's actually coming from small time donors and grassroots donors. I mean, and then, of course, the staggering hypocrisy, this idea that Laura Ingram is trying to paint the Democratic Party as a party that's, opposed to the working class economically, and really they're interested in making the rich richer and helping the rich keep the middle class down. It was Donald Trump's flagship piece of legislation. One of the very few things that he actually got done during his administration was a $2 trillion tax cut for the rich. More than 80% of the benefits went to the vast majority of the benefits went to the people who need it the least, millionaires and billionaires. Okay, that was Donald Trump. That wasn't President Biden. That wasn't Vice President Harris. And that was, again, one of the few things he actually spent political capital on, Trump, that is, when he had the White House, when he had a sympathetic Supreme Court, when he had the House and we had the Senate, a $2 trillion tax cut for the rich, which also contributed to the national deficit and helped blow up the debt. That was the Trump record, cutting taxes on the rich, imposing a greater tax burden on middle and lower class people, deficit spending to hell and back even prior to the pandemic, and blowing up the national debt that Trump said that he was going to wipe out. Trump said that not only would he not add to the debt, he would add $0 to the debt. He would also take the debt that he inherited from President Obama all the way back to President Washington, all that debt, and zero it out. He would get rid of it. When in fact, he added more than $8 trillion to that debt, the single greatest contribution to the debt in a single 4-year term by far. And even if you control for COVID, he has spent twice as much as President Biden. So fiscal responsibility is not with the Trump era Republican Party. The Democrats are by far more fiscally responsible, and they get better bang for their buck. When President Biden and Democrats spend trillions of dollars, it's not to give the rich tax cuts. Okay. It's to, invest in semiconductor manufacturing, domestic manufacturing, a sweeping infrastructure bill, which will revitalize infrastructure across this country. So I'm sorry, Democrats are more fiscally responsible and they have better spending priorities. And Laura Ingram's in total denial about that. And again, just love the fact check from Kevin O'Leary, a guy who, by the way, if you watch any of his content, this is a Shark Tank guy. If you see any of his interviews with respect to the economy and politics, it is very clear that he is conservative, right? He even says it in his phrasing. He's like, the Harris campaign is killing it where it matters most. Money, money, money. This guy is profit driven to hell and back. It just so happens that when it comes to fundraising right now, the Harris campaign is dominating Trump. That may change next month. Certainly, because also consider this. It's Trump who's courting billionaires. Trump is doing everything in his power to court billionaires, right? The likes of Elon Musk, David Sachs, and others. But again, Laura Ingram doesn't care about that. So let's get into the fact check. So this is from Reuters. The Harris campaign announced Friday that it raised $310 million in July, fueled by small dollar donations that flowed into the war chest after President Biden bowed out of the race and endorsed Vice President Harris. The July figure, more than double the $138 million raised by Donald Trump and Republicans in the same months, brings the total money raised by Harris and Biden before her to more than $1 billion, the fastest a presidential campaign has crossed that threshold in history, the campaign said. Now, this is a Democratic campaign. Republican campaigns, the fastest presidential campaign, period, to ever reach $1 billion. More than 200 million of that 310 million came in the first week following Biden's endorsement of Harris. 1 week. The vast majority, 2/3 effectively, came in 1 week. And then 2/3 of the July donations came from first-time donors, and 94% of the donations, 94% of the donations were $200 or less. That totally undermines Laura Ingram's lies, which is why Kevin O'Leary was fact-checking her. Last thing I want to play here is he compares it to Trump, the Harris campaign, 139 million Trump, 310 million Harris. The blue bar is an all-time record. Listen, folks, things may change, right? I am more confident in the election than I was prior to the president dropping out, but I want to make it very clear, and so should you. Take nothing for granted. We could still lose this. We have to be on our A game. We have to fundraise. We have to get out the vote. We have to spread the news, the good news, the cheer, the record, the enormously successful record of the Biden-Harris administration. We have to sell the fact at the time of recording that an enormously effective governor, a Democratic governor, Tim Walz, has been chosen to be Vice President Harris's running mate. That is awesome. We have to keep the hype up. We have to spread the good news and the cheer and keep this momentum forward as we head into November. Great stuff. Let me know what you think in the comments.